president blasting the nuclear deal Iran reached with his predecessor, President Obama, calling it the worst deal ever and that he's prepared to walk away from it.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Frankly, that deal is an embarrassment to the United States, and I don't think you've heard the last of it, believe me.
Now, when you're watching that speech, Governor Huckabee, there's a lot of interaction, a lot of response that we're seeing from world leaders, including Benjamin Netanyahu, who, after the speech, sent this out via Twitter. In over 30 years in my experience with the UN, I have never heard a bolder or more courageous speech.
Couldn't agree more. And I think that the only other time I've seen a world leader walk into that forum and speak anywhere near that level of boldness was, in fact, Benjamin Netanyahu when he did the graphic with the bomb. And we needed that kind of speech. This was not a rally speech that Donald Trump gave out in Springfield, Missouri. This is a speech. He walked right in. He looked right in the faces of the North Koreans and the Iranians and the rest of the world. That's why I think it was courageous. This is not a friendly room in there. This was not a warm and cuddly group of people that wanted to like Donald Trump. You know what I like? He doesn't care if they like him. He wants them to respect the United States of America. That's what we need in a president.
But will they get behind him?
I mean, it's interesting. He paused at one point where he thought that folks were going to applaud, and when they didn't, someone said he seemed to be basking in their disdain. That was on Twitter. I don't want to steal that line. It seemed like a good one. I thought it was interesting that this is an organization who has again and again censured Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes.
Today it looked like there was no daylight between the two. You saw cutaways of Benjamin Netanyahu smiling and nodding during the speech, and I wonder out there of people who think that the president is anti-Semitic, how they reconcile that view of him with what went on today. And I'm really asking that as a serious question, because you see that all over, and and that's, you know, one of those things, especially that we heard after Charlottesville and the like, and I wonder how they reconcile what happens today.
You know, we've been hearing that Vladimir Putin of Russia is wanting to open talks with North Korea and certain other people. He's not there. China didn't show up. Yesterday, Angela Merkel of Germany didn't sit at that table. It's amazing to me who's missing and who stood up. And now, really, the world is focused on this president. So I'm fascinated as we look forward, the role that he plays now and how the rest of the world will react to this. I want to see what they will say. Does this move the needle at all? Does this change the game at all, the speech that he gave yesterday? Or today, rather.
The one thing I'm convinced of is that Donald Trump does not play Mother May I. He does not walk into a room and says, would it be okay if you guys don't mind, and if it wouldn't upset anybody if I did X? He goes in and he says, this is what we're going to do, like it or lump it. Now, I'm sorry, but there's just enough of some grit down inside of me that I want our president to show that level of strength. God bless him for doing it. I thought it was exactly spot on what needed to be done.
And speaking of some of the details specifically, so, as you heard the president saying, he went on the attack on Iran for its culture of death, says it must respect sovereign rights of its people. This is just one of the very forceful things that he said when it came to that.
Well, and it's all true, too. I mean, Iran has been one of the world's largest state sponsors of terrorism since the 1980s. And I think he's also tried to counter Iran, what we saw before with this trip to the Gulf states, and meeting with over 50 Arab leaders. That was in part to try to contain Iran. So again, a different policy than what we saw from President Obama, who was greeted much more differently the last time he had visited Saudi Arabia, with the king not even meeting him at the airport. So I think we saw President Trump really try to differentiate himself from the previous administration, specifically in regard to North Korea and also in Iran. And additionally, and just even the way that he spoke, as you had mentioned, in such direct and strong terms as well.
Again, it fascinates me. He showed up. Some of those others didn't. The ones who keep talking, Putin, didn't.
All right, much more on President